Was third soon. But yeah, you're the first to do 3, I believe. And ever since we're on, by the way, ever since we first done the pod, I swear I remember there was like a brief stage when even I had more followers than you. And now it's like just gone crazy and obviously doesn't really mean anything in the scheme of what you do, but it's great that more people are aware of what you do.
Well, yeah, it's getting the message across. I mean, I think I was only 3,000 followers in September last year.
Yeah.
And it's just more, I guess, advocacy and people now realizing that, when you have children, it's a whole nother level to realize how many shortcomings there are in our legal system. That's why I do videos talking about people getting weak sentences or offenders trying to weaponize a legal system against victim survivors. And I just thought, you know what, it's a nice little tip of the cap to actually get recognized in the street and people saying, hey, thank you so much, give me the strength to go to the police, or thank you, you've taught me the signs of what to look for with my kid is to make sure I can control who they're talking to online, what video games they're playing. Because my area, it's very hard to talk about, but my big thing is I only talk about stats prevention. I will never go into detail about what people do.
Cases and
because people
whatnot.
don't want to know. Like when you're a parent, you just want to know, how can I protect my kid? And that's really what I'm just aiming this whole page at, and to mainly just deter offending and make sure offenders are punished.
Do you feel that a lot more people have become awake to this issue with pedophilia and whatnot and sex crimes against kids? Do you think people have really switched onto it more since the Jeffrey Epstein case has become public?
Not since it's become public. I think 20 years ago, no one spoke about mental health. No one spoke about it. And then everyone talks about it now. This has been an issue that's been brewing for years. It's
been swept under the rug. It's dirty. It's uncomfortable to talk about. Like it is. I can understand when people don't want to hear about it because it does. It makes you feel fucking. If you're a normal person, it does. It makes you feel sick.
Yeah.
So it is a very uncomfortable conversation to have.
Well, I think the Epstein list was 2025. It started trickling out, but in September 2024, there was it's called the Australian Maltreatment Study. It was a study that the government funded that came out and showed that 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys will be sexually abused for their 18th birthday.
That's fucked.
And I started doing my weekly list about the district court, I think in January 2024, showing that about 25% of matters per day in the district court are related to child sex offending. And the media cannot talk about it because about 92-ish% of offenders are known to the victim survivors. So you cannot identify them if they don't identify as victim survivors. So the media can't do a 1-minute news story on a guy leaving court and talk about it because it's probably the person's parent, grandparent, uncle, neighbor, godparent, sibling, things like that. And so now we're actually seeing more and more people coming forward and saying, hey, I want to talk about this. This happened to me. I want to waive my right to suppression of my identity and come forward and actually report what happened. And it's because of people wanting to actually come forward and have the bravery to speak about it that more people are coming forward. You look at, I think 10 years ago, Terry Crews, who's
Terry Crews from White Chicks
and Longest Yard. He came forward. He was abused. Brendan Fraser said he was abused.
And he was belittled. He was like kicked out of the industry almost.
Yeah. And there's all these people that have put their hand up and said, this happened to me. It's not my fault. This is what happened. It's making people talk about it. And when it's something like the Epstein list, it's kind of a bit of a step backwards for victim survivors because there's not been one arrest yet out of that.
Yeah, I think that just fucking baffles me.
Well, look at Ghislaine Maxwell. She's in prison for, I think, 22 years for human trafficking, but they haven't actually announced who she trafficked. And the fact that there's not a task force set up around the world for this, I think the UK has made one arrest, but it's not directly related to the list. It's something to do about providing confidential information. But there's not one country that has actually taken the steps of setting up task force and actually properly investigating this. I mean, we're talking about 50 million plus pages of information there that, who knows what is behind the redacted information. But one thing that I think it was either Department of Justice or the Attorney General's Department in America had a special Senate hearing, and they got up and said in front of the Senate, we've spoken to all victim survivors. And one of the senators said, well, there's 100 victim survivors behind you today. Everyone stand up. sit down if you've been questioned about this, and no one sat down. So it's all well and good say you're releasing documents, but when you're a law enforcement agency, until you've actually spoken to all the victim survivors, and until you start seeing arrests of occurring, then what's the point of releasing this list?
Yeah, it's hard because you can just see how much injustice there is for people in really high positions. Like we're not anyone who pretends like a normal civilian like myself or yourself are playing with the same deck of cards as these billionaires or like people with exorbitant amount of money. Well, they're just lying.
Child exploitation images now, they're actually used as a currency.
Yeah.
You're not seeing a person getting arrested having 10 images.
You're seeing millions.
It's always terror. I think we spoke last time. I don't know what
terabytes, 1,000 gigs.
And you're seeing people that didn't grow up in the computer age. So, for instance, do your parents have an iPhone?
Barely know how to use it though.
Yeah, so my mum's got an iPhone, and it was only about 3 months ago she knew how to actually send a picture message.
Yeah.
And you think she grew up in, I think, maybe computers. I think we were probably the first generation that had computing as a subject. I started year 8 in 2000, and I think in primary school...
Computing was in like my year 5 class.
Yeah, I think my year 5, 4 or 5, year 5, I moved schools, and you think we were the first ones to be raised, or not raised, but taught computers at school and with the internet, and you're seeing people in their 60s, 70s and 80s accessing the dark web, and I don't know any normal person.
I wouldn't even know how to fucking do that, and I'm tech savvy to an extent, and I would not be able to even tell you how to fucking access that.
Well, the only thing that because you're what, mid-30s?
I'm 33.
Yeah, so the only thing that I knew about the dark age, the dark web growing up was Silk Road, about people would use some separate thing to buy drugs. And
yeah, people used to use bitcoins and that's basically the original kind of use case for cryptocurrency. It was to buy illegal goods online.
Yeah, and you see these people caught. You look at them and think, what normal person would know how to access images on dark web? And then what happens? They share them for currency. And what was happening during COVID, because these sickos couldn't go on their sex holidays where they go to different countries and they abuse children, they started paying individuals, either Cambodia, Brazil, Philippines, I think somewhere else in South America. They're just paying them almost the price of a cup of coffee to live stream abuse material.
That's fucking crazy.
You're like, Australia is now the second highest consumer in the world of abuse material.
Second.
And that's where...
Is that per capita or just in general?
Overall.
That's fucking crazy.
So America's number 1, I think they're 330 million. Australians 2 at 27 million. The UK is 3, and I think UK has about mid 70 million. And we're the second highest consumer in the world. I think that's mainly due to our close proximity to Southeast Asia, where a lot of
it comes from.
And you're at the airport and you see a single bloke coming back from the Philippines by himself that's middle-aged, and you often go,
a bit weird.
Yeah, or you see people that have been to prison for this. That I've had one guy that I've sued a few times, and he faced criminal conviction in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
And got acquitted because it happened a long time ago, but there's 10 people that have come forward and said something happened to him. And he's moved, and he's teaching English in a Southeast Asian country. And I saw his Facebook page a few months ago, and it's photos of him with kids, and it's just disgusting. And, over there, it's amazing what they do to bribe officials over there, or $10 to a person in Southeast Asia would be like $1,000 to someone over here.
Yeah, that's fucking... Is Southeast Asia the highest of where it comes from?
Yeah, there was an article, I think it's the IWF, the Internet Watch Foundation. It was from a few months ago. It was Cambodia, Philippines, Brazil, and I don't think it's Venezuela, but it's another South American country. But they're the highest, I guess, or the most likely place where these individuals would access this live stream material. And you think if someone's paying money to a person in those countries, that should easily be traceable. And if they're using, I don't know what apps they use, but if they're using that to actually view it or live stream it, because they're trying to say, well, I don't have possession of it. They're just using it. But there's a way that the AFP could actually look at that. But the hard thing is the AFP in South Australia, Jacket, they're so under-resourced. But this crime has been increasing about 4.5% per year just in New South Wales alone over the past decade. And you think 25% of our district court lists on average a day is related to child sexual offending. Now, on one side, you think, well, that must be because we're actually arresting people. But on the other side, it's the fact that the ease of obtaining it. I think there was someone did an article a while ago. It was they showed someone on X. They were able to access child abuse material within 45 seconds of being on that platform.
That's insane.
And it's out there. There's they're doing age restrictions now, I think Australia, for some of the online pornography sites. And there's obviously the social media ban. But I mean, children, like when we were 18, you know, how easy, well, even younger than 18, how easy was it for people to get alcohol?
Yeah.
How easy was it for people to get smokes? And it's not addressing the issue. It's saying, oh, children can't use social media. It's like, well, maybe sex offenders shouldn't use social media. Maybe sex offenders shouldn't use the internet. And, you know, how easy would it be for an offender to go and buy a burner phone from a service station and hook into the neighbour's Wi-Fi and hide it? Things like that. It's the most under-punished crime in Australia, and that's why I brought in the super campaign to try and say, strip all these guys of their superannuation, actually show them that...
And so that's... You just went to... Was it Canberra?
Correct.
That...
A week before Volk, which I could have hung out with Volk
and Rob.
Whitaker, and I think that was that Cole Noak in the photo as
I
well?
believe so.
And Duke Didier, that would have been a fun afternoon session
chaos.
with those four.
That's why if you see petrol slashed in half, it's because Volk went to the big house. So when you went over, I just didn't want to get it wrong. The law about superannuation isn't in yet.
No,
but
so it's,
they have altered laws now.
Yeah, they made the second reading speech. So when I started this in 2020, I wanted all superannuation up for grabs from offenders to satisfy any civil judgments or criminal conviction.
Yeah.
What the Labor Party is saying now is, look, we want to get something in, but we only want to make out-of-character contributions for guilty individuals. So if you've been found guilty of a crime against a child and you sell your house and dump it into super, and you say, sorry, can't touch me, everything in super is protected, the proposal that Labor want to push through is you can actually claw whatever they've dumped in super back out and give to victim survivors.
Yeah.
We're saying that's literally putting the door a little bit open. We want to kick the door in and make sure all super, because the reason why you and I didn't go 150 Ks down Beach Road to get here because I didn't want the fine.
Yeah.
And most people will look at the odds, and I think according to Sportsbet, Bob Katter had the same odds of becoming the next Prime Minister of Australia at 101 to 1 than a person being convicted of child sexual offending. So it's 3 out of every
ridiculous.
1,000 get convicted.
Yeah.
And with the super issue, so many victim survivors could sue the offender, take all their super, and then actually show the Australian taxpayer, hey, you guys are actually paying for these guys' crimes.
Yeah.
We need to remove this, and let's start showing these offenders that, you know, if you even think about harming a child, you're gone.
It's a deterrent.
That's the main thing about it. This isn't a problem.
It won't deter everyone, but it would definitely deter. Like if it deters one person, that's a job well done.
Well, 1 out of 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys being sexually abused by their 18th birthday. You can't arrest out of that. Like you think out of an average 30 student classroom, that's 3 boys and 5 girls will be abused for their 18th birthday, and that's insane. And if you think that every single person who commits an abuse against a child is arrested, we'd literally have a state that would just be full of jails and locking people up.
Do you have so online obviously at the moment, actually the last 5 to 6 years, it's been very popular to do predcatch content. What is your opinion on it?
Don't do it.
Don't do it?
You'll get in worse trouble than the offenders. We've had people that have tried that and they've showed offenders IDs online and they get worse charges than them. I've had a bunch of people reach out and say, hey, what do you think we should do about this? I just said, it's not worth the hassle. Like if I think FaZe does it, and he does it really well.
Nighthawk.
Yeah,
He actually seems like he goes about it like I don't know if he communicates with the police beforehand and stuff, which is the correct way. But if you're just going up to him, and although it is nice to see them get punched in the head sometimes, like online, it's definitely not the right thing to do, because they're going to end up getting away with their crime, and you're going to be fucked.
Well, it depends on the intention behind it. Someone like FaZe, I've spoken to him before, and he's a young lad that really wants to make a difference.
Yeah.
He's not doing this for clout, where there's some people in America that
purely do it for views.
Exactly. And what's the point of that? Like, if you're doing it for views, you're not really actually getting the person in trouble. You just, oh, look at us, we're staging this and we're going to make a guy do X, Y, and Z. It's not going to have the desired effect of actually punishing these offenders.
Yeah, that's who I had in my head when I brought it up, because I've seen like heaps of FaZe Nighthawk stuff, and he does it. He seems like he does it better than anyone else in Australia has.
Yeah, and I think I watched the Louis Theroux documentary on the plane the other day, and there was one guy that they just went online and they just found a guy, they went and bashed him. It's like,
that's so dumb.
But what is the point of that? Like, you'll get arrested, you're not going to protect any children, and you're just doing it to try and look like an idiot. Like, I always tell people on my page that make comments saying, let's go get this person. I say, if you're a vigilante, don't follow me, because my big thing is raising awareness and trying to get legislative change, not go out and bash them. It's just a dumb thing, because going out and flogging an offender is not going to harm a child at all. Not going to help a child at all.
They will have a lot of if you're looking for justice, they'll have a lot of a worse time in jail.
If they make it to jail.
If they make it to jail.
Well, the hard thing in South Australia is that the offenders either go to Mount Gambier or Port Lincoln.
Yeah.
And they're all put together. It's not like American movies, how all the child sex offenders are in one thing. And I actually learned a while ago from a person that was in prison. He's like, the reason why offenders are actually hated in prison is not by virtue of their crime. It's the fact that most people in prison have been abused as a child.
Which definitely makes sense, because it messes up your brain chemistry.
Well, it's the fact that it literally just removes a child's innocence.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only crime. The High Court's even said this. It's a crime that's not justifiable. You look at with assault, you can say, look, well, this guy punched a mate, I had to defend him or engage in self-defense. Or even adult sexual crimes, the consent can be revoked at any time. So people often argue that it was revoked and he stopped, but children can't consent. There's no legal justification for sexually abusing a child. There's just none. And I've had offenders try to say, oh, but this 7-year-old came on to me, it's not my fault. And you think, your house is gone. And the excuse that these offenders try to use all the time, I've heard there was a guy that was, he tried to say that his autism caused him to do it, and that he only downloaded images to see what it was like because he worked in politics. He was an advisor for some, I can't remember who, but he's a political staffer, not a politician. But he wanted to download this information to actually see what it was like, to see why people are attracted to it. And as part of his sentencing submissions, this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, he tried to weaponize his autism by saying that he had no idea what he was doing. Someone put it on his computer for him. And then when the prosecution cross-examined him on it, they said, well, hang on, here's chat logs where you have basically made admissions about your love for children, what you want to do to them. And he turned around and was like, I didn't know what I was doing. It's like, you're trying to use a disability to try and justify this. It's insane. And we've seen it across the board. A lot of people are trying to use autism. They're trying to blame other people. They're trying to blame hackers. I saw one guy years ago, he tried to blame the Lithuanian mafia for putting 330,000 images on his computer. The
Lithuanian mafia.
And when police actually raided his house, all of the images were stored in USBs around the house. I was like, they use any excuse they can to get out of it. But the net is tightening. It'd be great to see more funding towards this. Like, there was a Braveheart study in 2016 that said that the Australian public, so child abuse back then cost the Australian public about $30 billion a year. That was 10 years ago. I'd hate to see what the numbers are now. They'd probably be through the roof. But the thing is, that's money being paid out by the taxpayer. The second you see a bikie arrested, how often do the police sell off chains, sell off watches, sell off bikes? But the second you see a child sex offender arrested, you never see their house going, you never see their cars going.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's never ever gonna realistically. It's in our kind of day and age, and in the time that we live in, or the next 100 years, it'll never change. It'll never stop. But we can definitely have a red hot crack at slashing the numbers.
Oh, absolutely.
Like at minimum by half.
Well, the law hasn't caught up with technology yet.
That's the thing. So the more, if we can, there has to be a way, and whether it's like intrusive to people's freedoms or whatever way they decide to do it, there will be a way where it will definitely slash it.
Well, people don't realise it was only the 1st of July 2025 when our government banned convicted child sex offenders from working with children. So
how long ago?
July 2025. So you could have been working in a boost juice at Glenelg Beach where kids walk in their bathers. You could have been a convicted child sex offender working there. You could have worked on a kiosk on the beach. You could have worked at a hotel at the beach where
like Magic
frequent.
Mountain.
Yeah. And you think, hang on, how is that not a thing? How wasn't that brought into power years ago? How it just baffles me about why we're not throwing everything into this. Like, there's the South Australian government made election promise in 2021 that they'll do a sex offender registry. Only came in about 2 months ago, and it's a thing where you have to put your ID in to try and actually see if there's people around you. The photos of offenders come up if a person hasn't reported, to be like, warning, this person could be in this area. But
can you do that in Adelaide now?
There's my understanding is the 3-tier approach. You have to put your driver's license in and actually show your address and where you live. And then if there's a person that, say, hasn't reported that might live a kilometre away from you, it's a photo, this person lives near you and hasn't reported. But it should be publicly available. It should be, if you abuse a child, here's a register. Now, some of the limbs of government, they don't actually want to extend it that far because they're worried about vigilante behaviour. But out of 15 years of law, the only time I've ever seen any form of vigilante behaviour from a parent against an offender was, remember when before the Central Market car park got gutted, you can actually walk up the car park all different ways.
Yeah.
There was a guy that offended against about 8 or 9 girls in, I think it was a after school hours care or before care. And he's this 150 kilo numpty walking to his car, and the mother of one of the children is walking behind the whole way, abusing him and just pushing him and slapping him. That's the only time I've seen a vigilante behaviour by someone. And if you're worried about vigilante behaviour, who's the most likely person to harm an offender? It's probably father, brother. You never see someone in trouble being arrested for harming an abuser because it just doesn't happen. Like, it might not be reported on, but the fact that if we're saying this is a problem in society and we want to deter offending, why wouldn't you say, if you abuse a child, we'll put you on a watch list for life. We'll make your face publicly available. We'll have a special thing to be like, these are the people in South Australia that are convicted child sex offenders. Because one big thing is now, especially mixed families in this day and age, someone gets a divorce, goes back on the market, meets a person, they've got 2 kids, you've got 2 kids, you want to live together. What is stopping that person from doing an online search saying, is the person about to move into my house a child sex offender? They should be able to do that.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. How do you go about like switching off? do you take a lot of this shit home with you?
Yes and no. Like, I've got young kids of my own, but I've had a lot of threats. I had one.
Who the fuck? That's just so baffling.
Here's the thing. I've sparred with Brando Pericic.
Yeah.
Like, he's a scary man, but some little creep that hurts a child is not going to scare or intimidate me. It's just not going to happen. But I've had people call me. I've had a wife of a guy that abused all 3 of his daughters. She called me one day and just said out the blue, I hope someone comes to abuse your children.
Oh.
And I get trolled all the time online. I get I don't know. I don't get why some would troll person.
It's a very weird choice. If like anyone trolls you, the police should investigate these people. But
it's funny, the people that troll me, I mean, I could eat a can of alphabet soup and shit out of bed or come back doing most of these guys say to me. But I mean, I'm not doing anything that's divisive. Like, if you walk down the street and ask 100 people, do you have a problem with what Andrew Carpenter's doing by exposing offenders and trying to change laws to save the taxpayer funds and punish them? I don't think there'd be one person that would say no. And that's not me sounding arrogant. That's just saying people don't like child sex offenders. Like, there's not one saving character. And even people that are child sex offenders, they're not going to come out and say no.
Yeah, they're going to fucking cop it on the chin and shut up. Because the thing is, like, I can kind of understand, say, you have a cousin and you were very close with him and then you had no suspicion and then he got done. I can understand how you would still try and defend him when you're emotional about it all. Me, personally, fuck no.
Well, it's the hard thing is, you see when people get arrested and convicted, they're able to get good character references. And so you've got people that are... There was a guy, the Collingwood cheer squad leader in Victoria, a guy called Jaffa, one of the two. He used to like wear a bright gold jacket to all Collingwood games. He was convicted for abusing a 16-year-old.
Really?
And then as part of his sentencing, he put in a good character reference from someone that said he was a great guy, reliable and all that. And his sentence took into account his good prior history. And when the story became public, the person that wrote the good character reference was said, hang on, I wrote that for a job for him. I had no idea what was written for. There was even in Victoria yesterday, there was a Liberal candidate that was dumped for another candidate to try and go to the by-elections. And that guy stood down within 12 hours because it came out that he actually wrote a good character reference for a friend that was a convicted child sex offender, saying he was a great bloke.
Oh.
And so the tides are turning now, where anyone that writes a good character reference to someone, look at Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis in America with Danny Masterson. We had Tony Abbott wrote a good character reference for George Pell.
Did he?
Yep. When he was, I think it was Tony Abbott and John Howard both wrote a good character reference. And I've had one guy once that, as part of his sentencing, he got a good character reference from someone that pulled him out of the waters at Glenelg or Henley Beach years ago that was drowning. He was running past, went and saw a guy drowning, pulled him out of the water. And they say, oh, no, he's a great bloke. He helped me. It's like,
that's...
by virtue of your crimes against children, you are not a person of good character. So you can't rely upon that. And, you know, good character references is trying to say that, you know, they had certain issues that led to it, whether it be mental. There was a guy last week that, as part of his sentencing, he wanted to try and get a discount on sentence because he said that he's got a bone issue, and when he was arrested, he tore a muscle and he soiled himself during the arrest, which caused embarrassment. It's like, well, you know, you're abusing children. You can't use this. And one thing that the South Australian government is doing is they're making mandatory life orders over repeat offenders.
Yeah.
The hard thing of that is that every single one of those matters will end up at the High Court. It'll make people run the matter all the way through. The reason for discounts in sentencing is to prevent victim survivors from going through the trauma of a trial, which is often more actually traumatic than the offence itself. And, you know, when you're seeing a guy getting a 50% discount for his crimes, you think that's pretty off. But at the cost of re-traumatising a victim survivor, I think that's one thing the public needs to know, is that it's victim survivors are petrified of their offenders. They still picture themselves as that 4-year-old. I've seen a guy that's almost 7 foot tall, covered in tats, twice my size, shake at the thought of his offender, who was this maybe 5'2" priest.
Yeah.
Because in your head, you picture yourself
as a kid. I've always found it really baffling how people can defend them, like, in the court of law. Do you like, I don't know how to say it in like not a rude way. Do you get pissed off at certain lawyers for, or is it just because it's the law process?
It's doing their job, and the best way to think of a defence lawyer is just making sure that the prosecution is doing a fair job. So you think if you've got no defence lawyers, you get a speeding fine. The cop's like, I know you're going 80 kilometres an hour, but I'm going to say you're doing 120.
Yeah.
Prosecution prove it. All a defence lawyer does when these sorts of things is to make sure that the law is properly applied. Look at the Bondi shooter, for instance. All these lawyers have said we're not representing him, refused to, and his defence lawyer gets up in the media out front of court and say, what he did was despicable. I'm simply here to do my job to make sure that justice is served. Now, when you're a solicitor, people don't realise this, but your number one obligation is to the court. I had a matter years and years ago when I did some criminal matters. I just did a few traffic pleas when I first started.
Yeah.
The court was going to sentence my guy on the basis that it was his first drink drive offending. And I had to say, sorry, Your Honour, actually, it's his second or third offence. And the client's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I have an obligation to the court. I have to make sure.
Can't lie.
And so he got sentenced as a repeat offender. And so defence lawyers, they can't lie. When you see an argument put in court, that is a defendant instructing their solicitors to do that.
Is a penalty of someone not telling the truth, them getting their license revoked?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So you can't do anything dishonest as a lawyer.
Yes.
You're even if you're aware of a document in your existence, you have a legal obligation to provide to the other side.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense because I've always... I'm sure the heaps of the general public are the same as well because I'm oblivious to the actual ins and outs of the law. Like, it just would how some people defend some people is just baffling to me.
I've had matters before where someone is on footage doing something and they said it wasn't me, and I said, well, it is you.
It's kind of you.
And I said, and you have to say to them, look, your options are you've basically give me an idea it was you that you've done it. You either have to plead guilty or you have to terminate my instructions because I cannot represent you knowing that you've admitted to me that you've done it or you're guilty of the crime. So yeah, I've got plenty of friends that are defence lawyers and I'm constantly hiding comments on my page about people attacking the judges and the defence lawyers because judges only can impose the way that the parliament laws are, so they can't go above and beyond it. And the defence lawyers just simply doing the job to make sure that all the proper checks and balances are put in. And all of my friends that are criminal lawyers, they cannot stand child sex offenders.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that no one would go out of their way to give this person or these people any time of the day. They just won't.
Is it hard for you when you're, say, working for someone that had something done to them as a child? Is it hard for you not to bring in emotion with it?
Oh, it's most of the time.
Because I imagine when you're working with these clients, you do form like some sort of bond with them because you're fucking the bloke in the cape trying to save the day. So they would be very attached to what you're doing. Is it hard to like take emotion out of it and just do like a really, really straight and clean job?
It's not hard to take emotion out of it because I truly care about them.
Yeah.
Most of the people that come forward, I'm the first person they've ever told about the abuse. Now, I've had people in their late 60s, early 70s that have been carrying this since they were primary school. I've had people that have come forward right away. I've had people that have kept it secret. The national average time frame to report is 23.9 years, according to the Royal Commission. So that's after the fact. So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's hard hearing graphic details of what people do to children, but at the same time, my job is to make sure that I can change this person's life. I can get them money for treatment, to work. Like most of the people that are on Centrelink, they can't afford the medication, so they give up one meal a day so they can afford medication to function. And when you've got institutions that know about offenders offending and do absolutely nothing about, and it's at the expense of these people, of course I'm going to go for the jugular and make sure these people are taken care of, because it's when someone tells you the deepest, darkest secret, it's humbling, but also people are worried about the reaction. Like you've seen Embarrassing Bodies on TV, the TV show. You don't see a person go to a doctor and say, I've got this embarrassing rash. You don't see the doctor on TV go, ugh.
Yeah.
It's, okay, how can we treat this? I mean, my big thing is I can't change the past, but I can try my best to give you the justice you deserve.
Yeah.
And that's the best I can do. And, when someone gives me a hug after the matter's settled and they can say, thank you, I finally got recognition. I mean, most of the time it's not the money for them. I think Russell Manson said this himself. When he got the money, but when he got the letter of apology, that's the first time where he's like, someone out of this place has acknowledged what's happened to me.
And said sorry. Yeah.
Where private individuals, when you sue, they won't say sorry because they're worried about people going to the police. But the Royal Commission into Institutional Abuse really just said, people need to actually make amends for what they've done and actually let people get the closure they deserve.
And since our last podcast, you have been absolutely smashing it on the socials lately. You've done Sam Bamford's.
Yeah, I've done Sam Bamford's. I've
You've
done
been
Gary
interstate.
Jublin's 3 times. I think the first.
Jubilan's is huge too.
I'm the first ever 3-time guest on his show and yours.
Yes.
So, and Miles is number 2. So take that, Miles Simpson.
Take that, Miles.
I've done lots of the current affair, but it's more. I guess they're seeing me as being a bit of the voice of the voiceless, so actually wanting to actually talk about this and highlight it, because, like I said, it's a miserable topic to talk about. But it's like, say I was on the other day on a podcast. I was on Erin Milan's show, which I don't really know much about her, but I got all these messages afterwards saying, how dare you go on a right-wing podcast? And I'm like, all I got asked to speak about was about Roblox, the game, and how offenders are actually accessing Roblox to abuse children.
If people don't know about that, sorry to cut you off, Roblox is maybe the fucking worst one. So if your kid's at home playing Roblox all the time and you don't monitor them, it's very important you do.
Yeah, I think a few years ago it was 13 children in Australia per day were abused.
It's wild.
Over all the abuse started with Roblox. So the one thing about that podcast, all I was talking about was the warning signs for Roblox.
Yeah.
And people were having to go at me. I said, look, I'm completely apolitical with this sort of thing. I'll go on left-wing podcast, right-wing podcast, central.
Just as many people can hear it, need to hear it.
Because it's all about raising awareness. And with parents in Roblox, what happens on Roblox, the chat rooms are uncensored.
Yeah.
And the average age of a person playing Roblox, a children's game, is 37.
That's fucked.
And
really?
Yep. And so the chat rooms are unhinged. So what offenders will do is they'll tell the children, hey, add me on Snapchat. And they'll message back and forward. People don't realise that if you go on Snapchat, you can see exactly where a person is right now within half a metre of where they actually are. So there's I think it's the bottom left-hand corner on Snapchat. It's the map function. If you're watching your phone now, go on Snapchat, look at that, and you can see where a friend is. Zoom in, it'll show you their house, their street. They could be sitting in their lounge room. If you've been to their house before, you know exactly where they're sitting at this moment in time. And what offenders will do is they'll add their children on Snapchat, and then if they're in the same state or country, they'll message them back and forward, and they're like, great, this person's in my same state. Message them at midday on a weekday. Oh, you're at home. It says you're at home. What are you doing? Oh, I'm home sick from school today. Oh, who's home with you? No one. They know where they live. They go on abuse, and they say, I know where you are. If you tell anyone, I'll come back and harm your family. And Roblox it's just a shit show. If you're a parent and your kid's on Roblox, get them off. Buy them a Nintendo 64. Give them GoldenEye.
Yeah, give him a PlayStation or something. Buy him a Nintendo.
Like, the fact that the average age of a person playing a children's game is 37 is ridiculous. And there's been, I think, Texas, the state of Texas in America, actually sued the creators of Roblox by saying that you are putting profits ahead of child protection.
That's good. That's good
and
for
there's
them.
a few other states in America, there's a few other governments that are actually taking action against them by simply saying, this isn't good enough. This is a stomping ground for perpetrators. And yeah, the social media ban is good, but it's not addressing these blokes that are going on a children's game to try to talk to children. Like,
and the creators know that that's like one of the main markets. They're not stupid. They know exactly why Roblox is popular. It's mainly for predators to fucking talk to kids. They know that. And
there's a thing it's like certain emojis that they actually use to coach.
It's like a code thing.
Yeah, I don't know which ones, but it's like they explain separate emojis about, write this one if your parents are close or... But again, like, how many people are we seeing being arrested from Roblox? Like, if you think if you're like, God, I'm going to do the back in our day. Back in our day, if you and I were at a time zone, were you around when they had time zone lock-ins back in the day? Imagine back then, if you're 10 years old, you're playing NBA Jam, and a 37-year-old rocks up to you and starts trying to talk to you.
Everyone's going to say, hey, piss off.
Yeah, but online games, it's, hey, there might be 10 guys standing next to you playing.
That's so true. We need to bring back arcades. We need to bring them back.
Well, it's just, if you're a grown-ass adult, that you shouldn't be playing a children's game.
Well, you shouldn't be talking to anyone's kids without their permission. at all. Now that I have a kid, I already didn't, like, I'm not a very fucking big fan of those kind of fucking humans. I don't want to talk to them at all.
Yeah.
Now that I have a kid, it's gotten 100 times worse.
Well, that's the first thing. Like, when the first time I held my older son, it was this weird feeling. It was like a force field was around you, and you're just like, I would die for this kid. I would do whatever it takes to protect this kid. And then that's when I started the law change, because I saw how bad it was. And when I took my kid to childcare for the first time, I've gone, hang on.
I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it now.
Well, with childcare, when the Ashley Griffiths and the Victorian childcare, the guy from last year that has like 1,500 charges, people online were talking about pulling your children out of childcare. Do you know the most dangerous place for a child to be sexually abused in? The family home.
That's fucking
80% of all child abuse is committed by a family member, and 92% is committed by someone known. Now, someone known could be, that's not an immediate family member, so godparent, teacher, sports coach, neighbour's a big one.
Yeah.
And you think with the neighbour is, God, I remember when I was growing up, you knew everyone in your street. I couldn't tell you 3 of my neighbours' names. I know 2 of them.
I was literally talking about this on my last podcast, how it used to be very, very Australian culture to know your neighbours, and trust them very heavily. And I was saying now, I don't know any of my neighbours.
No, well, with offenders, especially the ones that abuse neighbours or sporting clubs or things like that, the offender has to groom the family first, because the offender has to get close proximity to a child. So you're not going to see an offender. You move in next door to an offender. You knock on the door. Hey, I'm Andy. Nice to meet you. Hey, can I borrow some coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You're never going to be like, hey, nice to meet you. Do you want to watch my kids for 2 hours?
Yeah.
What they have to do is they have to gain trust. You look at, I'm not saying every sports coach that coaches a child is a potential offender, but you look at a person who's in their 50s hanging around a gymnastics club that doesn't have any children, that said, I'll take all your kids interstate on things. That's when you're like,
it's a bit weird.
Yeah,
we gave too much trust into the humanity back in the 90s and early 2000s, I think.
Well, with the 90s and 2000s, there was no such thing as online offending. So it was all physical acts. It was either the creep at a beach taking photos of kids or a person actually offending against a child. Like, now you've got to combat the internet, AI, the people that import those like childlike sex dolls. I'm sorry, if you're a person that's importing a childlike sex doll into the country, your house should be raided.
You should go to fucking jail.
Like, it's
yeah,
but it's these. I think I think Amazon scrapped them. I think Temu is one of the last ones that's actually selling these things. And you look at Border Patrol, the TV show. Someone tries to bring in a pair of nunchucks. They'll drop it at the house, and the second they deliver it and they sign for it, you're under arrest for importing a dangerous good.
Yeah.
Someone buys a child sex doll, you follow it to their house, you arrest them on site, you go through their computers, you go through their phones, because I guarantee you, if someone is buying a child sex doll, they're a sicko.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Like, I got something stuck at customs. I bought a lighter that was shaped like a gun. It was obviously a lighter, but it was one of the ones that looks like a gun. Got taken at customs. But like you said, like, these people can directly order from a massive company with their probably paid by Apple ID, so it has all of their details on it, and they can just receive a doll that's made to have sex with that looks 7.
What year were you born?
93.
So you would have been around like 2001, 2002, where Marilyn Manson was like going to big day outs and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you remember hearing the rumor about Marilyn Manson?
His ribs.
Yeah. So everyone...
There's a myth, apparently.
Yeah. Everyone in the 90s, before the internet... So I think Marilyn Manson was around late 90s. So I think I was in year 6 or 7 when someone told me Marilyn Manson had a rib removed so he can do things on himself. So before the internet, in Adelaide, South Australia... at a primary school, people knew that this guy in America was a creep.
Yeah.
You heard in the 90s, Michael Jackson being a creep. Heard in the 90s that R. Kelly was a creep. This was all before internet.
That's very true.
That's people speaking then. And so those guys back then could only offend in person. Here comes the internet. You've got online streaming. When was AI? Probably 2024, 2025. It started becoming a big thing.
Yeah, I'd say 2024 was when it really kind of shot off.
You've then got people using, I think the Twitter is Grok,
Grok.
using that to say, turn put this child into a bathing suit or something like that. And you've had all these AI things at the platforms, like there's AI companies popping up left, right, and center, but they're not regulating it yet. They're not saying, hey, if you're a provider of AI and you allow someone to do this, fine them. It's like with the childcare thing where people trying to say we'll take our kids out of childcare. It's like, well, no, the most dangerous place for your child is at home. If you want to make sure that a childcare is the safest possible place for your child, get the government to change laws by simply saying that any childcare provider who has a child abused on their site is liable for damages, regardless if the person's a volunteer, employee, anyone. You watch how quickly childcare centres implement policies, procedures, child protection things when the ball's on the line. You look at one of the Victorian guys, and we won't go into much detail because it's before the courts, but one of the reasons why he was caught, he was abusing children when he's changing nappies. Now, you look at ways you can combat that. You're not going to have security guards watching people change nappies, because that in itself is potentially exposing someone to child abuse. But what they've done in New South Wales, there's a swimming centre over there that instead of lifeguards, they have AI cameras. And what they do is they'll record someone going back and forward. And once they start slowing down, the light will flash orange. And there was a guy that drowned a while ago. And the second he stopped swimming, I think he had a heart attack. It started flashing red, and it's like lifeguard, lane 2, midway mark of this pool.
Yeah.
They were there within seconds. If you had some form of software you can use to make sure that when a person is changing a child, nothing untoward's happening, that it's just literally changing and that's it, or at least reconfigure all childcare centres to make sure everything's open plan. Like when we were looking with our child at childcare centres, all these concrete jungle ones that have popped up that don't even have an outdoor area, I'm looking going blind spot, blind spot, blind spot. Knock walls down, make an open plan, because a person changing a nappy should be visible to anyone.
Everyone should be able to see everyone at all fucking times at a daycare. That's such a big thing. If you go somewhere and, like you said, it's a maze and there's heaps of corners and no fucking cameras, like you said, like these people weasel their way into positions where they know that they're going to get their devious habits fixed. Perfect. Like, it should. But picking one for my son, it's like a fucking nightmare. Now I'm like, maybe I just probably won't send him.
No, well, it sucks. It's terrible that's happened. You've had two, I think one was 2023, the other one was last year.
Last year, that was in Brisbane, wasn't it?
There was the guy, Ashley Griffiths, was in Queensland. He's been convicted. He got 36 years. It was
still not enough.
Nah, he was originally charged with like 1,500 counts, and they negotiated it down to...
How do you negotiate? I love it in America how you hear that people got sentences of like 500 years.
Yeah, you've got 35 life sentences.
You're fucked. Like in Australia, you can only receive one life sentence, can't you?
Yes, but life in Australia doesn't mean life.
It's 25.
So non-parole is for murder. Well, the only I think sentence that carries life imprisonment is murder, but that's non-parole 20 years.
Is it only 20?
Sorry, non-parole period. So that's you have to serve the 20 years.
Serve 20.
Well, look at the Snowtown guy.
I was just going to say, he just got out.
Not yet. James Vlasakis, he pled guilty to being involved in the murder of 4 people, and he's getting parole, potentially getting parole. South Australia is the only place in the world that has a serial killer considered for parole.
Really?
There's not around the world. There's not been.
Isn't he out yet?
No.
Oh, so I thought he was out.
His non-parole period came up, and the parole board have said, well, he's not at risk of the community anymore. He's rehabilitated, but he's got an indefinite suppression on his identity.
I had so many people when that came out message me saying you should get him on the pod. I was like, I don't know if I could sit across from him. He's a fucking psycho.
I think Mark Hayden is another one that got sentenced for 20 years. He's out now. I think all he did, and probably someone online's going to correct me on this, I think all he did was actually rented the Snowtown bank. I don't think he was actually involved in any of the crimes. I think he either hired the place or transported the bodies. But he got out after 20 years. But James Vlasakis, he pled guilty to 4 counts of murder.
Yeah, he aided in killing people.
And then he turned on... Bunting and Wagner, I think.
Yeah, Bunting and Wagner.
So turned on them, but those guys were dead to rights. Like,
I'm pretty sure Bunting's still alive. Don't know about Wagner.
I think they both are. I think the only person that's died in the past few years was the guy that killed Peter Falconio and Spencer von Irenen. And so they try to get deathbed confessions with both of them, but nothing. But that's what, with this, with the government's proposed lifetime or indefinite detention, it's they want to make sure that these guys are rehabilitated. And if you're like Pete Liddy the other day, they spoke about him, the longest serving magistrate in South Australian history. He's got 26 years in prison for abusing children. He's still to this day maintaining his innocence. And how can someone who doesn't maintain their that continues to maintain their innocence, how can they be a person that's fit to go back and assimilate in society when dozens of children have come forward and say he abused us?
See, I'd be able to take that Vlasakis out and buy him a meal before I even fucking looked at that bloke.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand it. Like, murder, I can, like, in the head, like, not serial killer, but like a murder at a young age, I can definitely see how someone can reform.
Well, it depends.
Depending on obviously the fine details of it.
If you're a guy that's torturing animals and you're murdering people, no. But if your stepfather was assaulting your mother with a knife and you pulled out...
bash the shit out of him or shoot him, or say you're young, dumb, and you're really drunk and you accidentally do something and it ends up like that, I can definitely see how you can rehabilitate yourself and actually use, if you're using prison correct, come out and be assimilated back into society. As a pedophile, especially a serial one, even though I don't think there's a difference. Once you do one, like one
once you cross that line,
one is the same as 100.
Well, I've got friends that have lost their license for drink driving. I've had some that have gotten a bar fight and got a few months in prison. There's a guy a former professional fighter that Ben Sassoli, Combat Wombat.
Yes.
He was in the UFC. He was on
heavyweight.
the side. Yeah, he was a heavyweight. On the side, he was bouncing a club, and a guy used a racial slur towards him. So Ben just dropped him, but Ben got a year in prison. Now, I saw Ben after a year later after going out and had a fight. I sat down and had a chat with him because it's like, hey, you did the wrong... he bashed the guy, but he copped on the chin, and the fact, like, if he was a UFC fighter, he wouldn't have gone to prison. The fact that he knows how to defend himself.
He's trained.
But you look at your friends that commit crimes like that, when you've got a person that you know that's harmed a child, cut off.
I wouldn't.
Completely, forever.
I don't know who the fuck would turn a blind eye to that.
No one.
And I imagine it would be like a family dynamic. Like, it's like a thing that people know is happening, but it's unsaid in certain households, which is just fucking so baffling to me.
Well, especially with, I've seen offenders that they still go to family reunions with the person they abused there, and you think, why isn't this person completely shafted from the family for life? Like, there is no redeeming quality for that. Like, once you choose to do that, it's the most egregious breach of trust where you're harming a child for your own sexual gratification. Like, absolutely not. You cannot be rehabilitated if you abuse a child. And I know there's going to be people online that will say, oh, yeah, of course you can. But no, like, from a society perspective, I would not give an abuser time of day for anything. If there's an offender that owns a business, I'm not supporting that. If there's an offender that that's a professional athlete, not supporting them. I'll boo the shit out. Like the volleyball player that tried to come to South Australia.
Oh, what a shit show that was.
That was they announced him in July the year before, and I think it was October when the tournament was about a month starting. I looked and actually saw his name's, I think, Steven Van der Velde.
Yeah.
And I checked the schedule they released. His name was on it. And no one was talking about it. And I've gone, you know what? I'm going to start doing some reels on this. And I put up a post saying that he's been welcomed in as convicted child sex offender.
That went viral as
well.
Yeah,
I think that was almost 1 million views on that one.
Yeah.
And spoke about how he's coming to Australia. He's a convicted child sex offender. He has to pass the character grounds. Called on Tony Burke to actually scrap that. Then the state government was paying him, or obviously paying for people to come here. The Netherlands Volleyball Federation, they said he served his time. So with him, he was in the Netherlands. He met a 15-year-old online and sexually abused her 3 times in a stairwell in the UK after flying there to meet with her. Then after he played at the Olympics, and after the Olympics, he did this grovelling interview where he was crying and saying he served his time, and people call him a pedophile. He's not a pedophile. How dare they? And then as soon as I found out he was coming to South Australia, I've gone, no, absolutely not on my watch. Did a video on that. Shot then that day, got contacted by Channel 9. Can you come speak about this? And then the tournament in South Australia was saying, well, this is selected by the volleyball organisation. They announced he's coming. We can't do anything. Bullshit. It's your tournament. You can ban him. And Adelaide Oval is Memorial Drive, that's a prescribed venue. Anyone that's going there, that's like, if you look at all the bikies, for instance, a bikie could not go to Adelaide Oval to watch a game because it's a prescribed venue. But a convicted child sex offender, you're allowing him to go there?
Yeah, it's like last week, all the news, all my feed was different news stations talking about the Comanchero's big fucking gathering in Queensland or whatever. It's like, who gives a fuck?
Well,
who cares?
Stephen Vandervelde, he's 198 centimetres, weighs, and I looked at his stats online, and I'm like, 198 centimetres, 98 kilograms. I'm like, I could do catch weight. And I thought, you know what? If he's that desperate to come to South Australia to compete in a sporting event, I'll come out of retirement, I'll go into DFC and be like... But the fact that it had to take public outrage before our government would step in and say, absolutely, and our Labor government handballed it. That's a federal issue. That's up to him being let in on grounds or not. They could have just turned around and say, we'll scrap this tournament if you let this convicted child sex offender in here.
But they didn't because they're cowards.
Yeah, well, it's not serving a good message. If you look at...
Did you love it, though, did you love knowing that the fact he couldn't touch Australian soil was...
I loved it.
Solely probably because of you?
Well, even, I got accused of cancel culture, which, about 2 years ago, my mother-in-law took my son just on the other side of town. When grandma or nana goes out and just takes kid for the day, they drive whoop and go somewhere else. And she called me and she's like, I said, well, what time are you guys coming home? Oh, about this time. I said, where are you? Like, you've been gone forever. Oh, we drove all the way to the western suburbs from where we are, like completely opposite side of town. And they drove there and they've gone, oh, we just stopped in at a place called the Hamra Library. I'm like, sorry? Oh, the Stephen Hamra Library? And I'm like, excuse me? So Stephen Hamra was the former mayor of Woodville West Torrens. His son, Stephen Hamra Jr., was one of the worst sex offenders this state's ever seen.
Really?
There's a library named the Stephen Hamra Library, and I've gone, absolutely not. So the next day I put up a post saying, library is called the Stephen Hamra Library, although nothing to do with the father. The fact that there's a library named after the same person that's one of the worst offenders in the state, change it. And I said, well, why don't we have the Bin Laden extension at the airport?
Yeah, or the Jimmy Savile fucking shopping centre.
And so there was all this media attention on it, and I had a deputy mayor saying there's no good reason to change the name. I'm like, excuse me? And so then it went to the next meeting, the mayors and all the ministers, or I don't know if they're ministers or representatives, they said, well, the family said they don't want the name changed. And I said, it's not about the family. You have a library that shares the exact same name as a convicted child sex offender.
Yeah.
And a few months later, they finally said, you know what, we'll change it. And I'm like, that's not cancel culture. Russell Manson said when he was in prison, he was getting visited by police officers from the Royal Commission. Everyone was saying, oh, this guy might be a rat. And one day Russell stands up in the yard and says, anyone that wants to call me a rat, I'm talking to the police right now because I was sexually abused as a child. If you think that's a rat thing to do, then come say it to my face. And the fact that if you had a centre named after a convicted child sex offender, not named after Stephen Hamra Sr., but Stephen Hamra Jr., the optics of that is terrible. Like literally in bright lights. Stephen Hamra Library, absolutely not on my watch. Stephen Vandervelde coming to Adelaide, absolutely not on my watch. These loopholes that these offenders use to avoid compensation sums, absolutely not on my watch.
And did they end up changing the name?
They sure as hell did.
What is it called now?
The West Torrens Library.
Beautiful.
I haven't driven past in ages, but I might take a trip down that side of town and do a little photo of it and just be like... But again, like it shouldn't be a battle. Anything involving protection of kids and punishing offenders... Why is that a battle? Like, why is that such a...
You should be able to jump some legal hoops. Like, you should be able to go into a little express lane with things like that, I feel.
Well, look at say, the past few referendums. I think the Voice was about 70-30 or 65-35. Gay marriage is like 80-20. Federal politics are usually, the votes are usually like 45 to 55%. For state, I think, unless our state election the other day, it was like 70 or 80% Labor. Everyone got cooked. But that shows how divided Australia is in certain topics. No one's divided on this area. The only people that I always say that against changes that I put forward or attack me online are the people that probably don't want to hear from me in the first place.
Yeah, or their very close family.
Yeah, and back years ago, most of the offenders were the breadwinners of the family, and that's why they couldn't leave. So, I mean, it's been an uphill battle for all these years, but it's just a matter where it's like, you know what, I'm just trying to protect our children, my children. Like when I drop my kid off at school in the morning, I look at the classroom, and like I said, out of a 30-student classroom, 5 girls and 3 boys. It'd make
you so fucking sad.
And you next time you see a school excursion, literally count the first 8 kids and be like, statistically out of that class, and you think, why would you not throw everything at this to prevent it? Like if 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys were dying of drink driving or meth use, look how quickly the government would snap down on anything relating to that. You get your car crushed going 180 kilometers an hour, but if you have 1,000 images of child exploitation material, they're not crushing your computer. They're not, stripping your assets from you. Yeah. It's about time that the pendulum swings in front of the victim survivor, and I'm much more concerned of giving victim survivors a first chance than I am getting offenders a second chance.
Well, we will end this on a lighter note because it is a heavy topic for people to digest. Your good friend Brando. Now, I have a funny relationship with Brando because I actually talked to him the other day, and I asked if he wanted to come on, and he was like, and I was like, yeah, it's fine, like, you're busy. But I messaged him years ago when he moved to New Zealand, and he just came on my radar. I never really heard of him much. And then I was like, oh, do you want to do a pod? Rah, 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 rah. And I followed him at a time when he had like a lot to prove to himself, and I feel like it just wasn't the right time. So we got off to a rocky start. But seeing what he's doing in the UFC right now is fucking insane.
You couldn't have scripted a better moment when Richie Elliott was his cut man of the fight, and when he came to the so
Richie loves Brando too.
Well, Richie took him in, so I mean, I won't talk about, because I've had a real close relationship with Brando for years, but the one thing that I'll say is when he first told me he was moved to New Zealand, I bought a pair of UFC gloves, and I think I showed it to him one day in Chinatown. I said, I've just bought these. I said, when you get signed by the UFC, I want to be the first person whose gloves you sign. And so he fought UFC Perth, and he was back in Adelaide for a couple of days, and he was rushed to the airport. He's like, hey man, I've got to quickly at the airport. Can I come past and sign your gloves? I said, mate, I'm late for an appointment. I'll leave my front doorstep. And then he rocked up at the wrong house, and he had to go to the airport, didn't sign them. So last week, caught up with him when he was in Adelaide, got him to sign the gloves finally. And so I think I have the first ever pair of UFC gloves signed by Brando Pericic.
So it'll be worth a lot of money one day.
I can't wait. The second he wins his first world title, these motherfuckers going on eBay.
So we're gonna chuck them up here.
I've already looked at getting them framed, so I'm gonna get one framed for my home office and one framed for my work office to get a photo of him and I together. And
is he the second person from South Australia?
First person from South Australia who fought on UFC.
Didn't someone from Cardio Flex?
Shane Mitchell fought
PFL. He fought PFL. He never fought in the UFC.
Caruso's fought one
FC,
and I think he did PFL as well.
Yeah, he did do PFL as well. So Brando's the first South Australian UFC fighter. Fucking man,
we've come a long way in Australia since Anthony Perosh, haven't we?
It's a good time for MMA in South Oz again. I feel like it was going through a bit of a lull state, as any combat sports does. In the last maybe 4 years, it was a bit dry because new talent was having to build up to come through. But at the moment, there is some fucking young up and comers. You would know better than anyone because you commentate DFC, South Australia's largest combat sports promotion.
Well, the great thing is, every show we're seeing 18, 19-year-olds who've had 2 or 3 fights.
So good,
and they fight like pros, so
active, so composed. They're not scrappy. When you used to go to a fight and there was 2 18-year-olds, it was very it was almost like a bar fight, and then it would fizzle out, someone would gas. But now kids are so composed. so composed in there. It's incredible.
That's more of a credit to the guys training him. Like you look
good.
at Miles, Craig, Mike Turner, Bino.
They're all seasoned now.
Yeah, they're all guys like let's do a pre-weight cut. Let's do some inter clubs. Like we're not going to put you in front of 2,000 or 3,000 people.
And also these guys like Bino and Miles is like and Ike and all the boys. They've coached for like almost a decade now.
Oh, it's longer than that.
Or even Miles has been coaching, I think, for maybe like full time, probably a bit over a decade.
I think Miles might have had someone on the MMA down under cards back in the day. Like
maybe out of like the firm or Ringworks or wherever he was training.
I remember. So Jake Hurl, who I love, I call him Triple G, Golden Grove Gangster. He had one fight on MMA Down Under, and I think he was 18 at the time, and there was no amateurs bout back then. So
MMA Down Under was fantastic, by the way.
Titanium Arena. Like
I used to love MMA Down Under.
I remember, was it Paul Slawinski got like wrapped to the ring? I remember like Dave DeConte and Blocker fought on there, and Anthony Bino, Mike Turner. Just trying to think who else was on the card, but it was great. And that was when I started MMA, there was only 2 cages. There was one that was like 2x2 that was a Northeast Road, and one that was in Richard Blake's garage. So we used to go middle of summer, Richard Blake's garage. We used to do rounds in this like probably 2.5 by 2.5 cage that had bolts literally eye level sticking out when you come in. You do a round, you go out into the backyard where there's like dog crap everywhere and grass, and then you come back in and like that, a garage in South Australia.
Yeah.
But that was great. And back then MMA was dirty, but now you see people taking their 4-year-olds to jiu-jitsu and karate and at a fight gym. And
I can't wait, bro. I can't wait to take my son for his first day at like jiu-jitsu.
Well, I'm telling everyone, like, start your kids in martial arts, because especially jiu-jitsu, because I'd rather get a call from my son's principal by saying that, hey, like, this kid took a swing at your son and your son just held him on the ground until teachers get there, rather than, this kid took a swing at your son and he just roundhouse kicked him in the face. Like, yeah. And the thing is, I think with karate, kids would get a bit bored just standing there. Yeah.
It's jiu-jitsu or wrestling. If you can get if your kid somehow likes wrestling and he's persistent with it, that's the best one.
Well, just look at the first thing you need to look at is all the violence in nightclubs and all that now. It's just idiots that just don't know how to fight, that go out king hitting people, where, with jiu-jitsu, is just keep your distance. Someone runs at you, just take them down, hold them until someone comes to picks them up.
Another thing people don't talk about when you put kids, or if you're a part of like an MMA cultured style gym or any kind of combat sports gym, you learn how to gauge violent people. Because in gyms, like, I'm not naturally a violent person at all. I'm fucking really docile. But there are some people, and they're fantastic people, but you can tell when people are like extremely violent people. Like, you do learn how to gauge that, and it does let you navigate like situations in town a lot better. Like, okay, maybe I should stay away from that gun over there. Maybe I should stay away from this. It just gives you a good insight into real violence.
Well, we had one guy come one day to our gym. He was a ruckman of some football club, and he did I think we were just doing grappling rounds, and he grappled with a guy that's probably about 70 kilos. And I'm just standing there, like, just warming up, and he gets him on the ground and he holds his hand and he stomps on his neck and starts pulling. And this is the first guy, this obviously 120 kilo ruckman, just thought he'd just come into this fight gym just to muck around and feel like. And after the round, I went up to the guy on the floor who was with us for a while. So, you okay? He's like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. I said, no, that was dirty. I'm like, got one more round, mate? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, so start grappling, and then I got him in a guillotine, and then I triangled his arm so he couldn't tap. And then I ninja gripped and couldn't tap, started healing, gurgling, and I'm just like, you don't treat people like that. Never saw him again afterwards.
Do you ever have a fight?
I wanted to, but it was hard because I was going to court all the time with black eyes, and
it's not a great look for professionally.
If I was still at uni and didn't have a mortgage, and because I started when I was at uni, and then I started getting into it and kept going, and I helped Mike and Bino and Tim Rogers a few of their fight camps.
Shout out Tim.
And I was just like, I really would love to do this. Like, I already had the song picked out I'd walk down to, and I was like, I'd probably cut down to middleweight, because I think I was like mid-90s at that time. But you look at Nick Edwards as middleweight and you're like, nope. But I thought I'll cut down to that, and I'm like, I really would like crack at it, but I wanted to make sure that if I want to do it, I'll do a year of this, of just get stuck in. But then I'm like, but then I can't go to the gym. Then I can't,
It is a very big commitment.
I was 25. I thought the first time in my life I was working full time, bought a house. I actually had money to go out and do things.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll go on a holiday. I can actually go on a town on Saturday night. And I was like, I kind of regret not doing it now.
I hate the fact I never had a fight.
But I'm 40 now. Like, someone actually had his first MMA fight about 45, but he was a former Polish karate champion on DFC. Dennis Palisha, I think his name was. But I'd love to do it, but with young kids now, and it's just hard. But I mean, Anthony Bino's having another retirement fight, so
oh my God.
I've already told him I'm going to be there for that fight camp. And when I went to Canberra last week, Storm MMA is over there, and I packed my gloves, and my wife walked past bag, and she's like, "What are they?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "What's in that Paw Patrol bag?" And I opened up, it's my gloves and cup and mouth guard. She's like, "Are you going to go over with Storm?" I'm like, she's like, "Before one of the biggest highlights of your life, you're going to be appearing in Parliament, law change. You're going to risk getting a concussion just so you can go and do some rounds with Storm?" I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "You're not taking them." I'm like,
I can't do it anymore. I can't spar anymore. I get concussion symptoms now when I spar, and I just don't like feeling that way anymore.
when I was younger, like I think I was mainly with Turner then when I was like 25, 26, and 18-year-olds coming to the gym. You're like, oh, these guys got cardio, but they don't know how to fight. And 18-year-olds now, they're like, they've had 8 fights ready. You think, oh, God.
Yeah, that's the moment I realised I was not built for, like, fight training anymore was I went to M16, like, over a year ago. And have you seen Aaron Gonzalez?
No.
Aaron Gonzalez is like a 16, 17-year-old kid from M16. He's Filipino. They call him the Filipino Fury. This kid's fought, like, 5 times this year alone and won every fight. And he's going to have at least 30 fights by the time he's 18.
Yeah.
And he's a freak, and he bashed me, and I was like, oh no, there's nothing I can do.
Well, there's not too many heavyweights now, and I'd always prefer with the heavyweight sparring because they know their power and they don't throw.
That's a hard thing with you. You're massive.
Yeah, when all the lightweights are like, oh, we're just going to throw harder, and it's like, can you not? Like, when I remember I did we still talk about it today whenever we see each other. Tim Rogers, one day he's like, hey man, do you just want to do a kickboxing round? I'm like, yeah, because I had all my gear almost taken off. Double legs me. I'm like, what are we doing? And I saw him about 2 weeks ago, and again, it's like, hey, remember when you double legged me in a kickboxing round? It's like,
I'd do the same fucking thing. I wouldn't be able to even hold pads for you. I've held pads for blokes like your size before, and it's more tiring than doing 10 rounds.
I always love, like, when me or like some of the heavy guys kick pads. That and the noise it makes, people just go.
Yeah, it's fucking terrifying.
I remember one guy that used to train with us. He was a blue belt and he wanted to have an intra-club fight, and he goes, "Man, I'm just going to take a few leg kicks and then take the guy down." I'm like, "Have you taken a leg kick before?" He's like, "Nah, I'm sure it'll be right." I'm like,
people don't know.
And he's like, no, it'll be fine. Like, I'll take 1 or 2. I'll lure him in, and he takes the first leg kick. He's like, nope.
It's fucked. Like I remember when I was training heaps, I used to be able to go shin on shin with people, and like it was fucking came, but I used to be able to do it. But then, like if I even tap someone's shin with my shin now, I'll cry.
I mean, I broke both feet in the same day once at the same time. So I threw a kick. I think I broke my right foot on Anthony Bino's either hip or elbow. And then we're doing a shark tank. So I was straight back in. No, sorry, it was David DeConte's elbow. We're doing a shark tank. So I broke my foot, and then someone switched in, and then I had the last round. And then he shot in for a takedown, and I sprawled it. And because I'm much bigger than I got an underhook and tried to judo throw him. But when I did that, I was still sprawled, and my toe was stuck in the mat and bent backwards. We went over my toe. I broke the bone, tore the cartilage, and tore the ligament. And then right away, like when you break something badly, So I sat down. He's like, "You okay?" I'm like, it's one of those pains where you can't talk. And so sat at the gym for about 20 minutes. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going home. Drove home, put my right foot out the car to get up, and was like, ah. And I looked down and went, ah. I'm like, I've got 2 broken feet now.
Oh, no. Yeah, I can't do that shit anymore. I'll go in. Now that I'm out running now, I'm going to go in and hit pads, but I'm not going to spar anymore.
Just the thought of skipping again with bare feet to me is just like, no.
No, I'm an old man now.
When you skip and it hits your toe for the first time, you're just like...
I honestly don't think I'd even be able to fucking skip anymore.
But
When's the last time you hit pads?
about a year or two ago. But I want to do that just every now and then. But it's like, it's just, to me, when my mum used to say, why do you do that? I said, when the cage door closes, it's the most peaceful place on the earth. You don't have to worry about anything, and you don't have to worry about anything that's going on. You're just worried about that. And that's why I tell people with martial arts, it's the best way to get humbled, because you go in there and there's a 16-year-old that, will choke you out, do something. And it's like, okay, well, I've got to work towards something to do that.
It's a fantastic experience. It's so good for you.
Well, look how many people had their life turned. Look how many youth or troubled youth. There was one in Melbourne the other day, a guy that was the most arrested 15-year-old in either Victorian or Victorian New South Wales history. And then two blokes at a boxing gym, they actually saw what was going on. They reached out to his uncle and said, hey, get this guy to come here. We won't charge you. Let's just try and get him off the street. And he's now a prodigy. He's this 15-year-old, and they can't show his face because he's still underage. But they showed him hitting the pads, and you think, and the guy's like, if I didn't discover this gym, I'd probably be dead now, because I had no outlet for anything.
The perfect example is like Mike Tyson. Yeah. Or whether he fucking...
He still misbehaved.
He still misbehaved a shitload, and I don't know what was true and what's not, but...
We went to jail for rape, so...
What is
5 years he got for rape.
I don't actually know the actual, like, specifics of it.
So he was at a Miss Black America pageant, and he raped a girl, and he spent 5 years in prison for it, and he converted to Islam, and
That's a hard one to defend.
Then he came out in his fight, and that's when he said, I'm just fighting for a paycheck, I'm broke, But I mean, look at
that's a really hard one to defend. I don't know why people defend him as much.
Look at someone like Sean Strickland. Like, he comes out, he's got a mouth on him, but like, he was abused as a kid, and look at the way he's turned his life around. He became a world champion. Like, and
you can tell, like, you definitely can tell with Sean that he has like some like insecurities still with that. Like, he's not at peace with it yet.
Oh, when Duplessis said to him, made a joke about being abused, but I'm just like.
That you could visibly see what that did to Sean at that moment. Like, that was way too far.
I've never seen Dana White step in, and he wouldn't, but that's the one time I thought he might be like, look.
Yeah, it's fucking...
Just this. There's certain things you don't joke about.
Yeah.
And it's child abuse.
With DFC, do you always do 4-ounce Muay Thai?
I think it depends on if it's pro or amateur or what's agreed before.
I fucking love that.
Yeah.
I love that sport so much. I love Muay Thai in a cage and 4-ounce gloves.
It's so much safer. Like, we had the thing with the South Australian government for years. They didn't want cage Muay Thai, but it's like you get knocked out. They're not falling out. It's not. Yeah, it's a safety thing.
It's like the 12 to 6 elbows. I think the cage is dangerous. I guess the only thing with the cage is you can't utilize the ropes to kind of lean. So if you do get cornered, it's a different skill set like to normal Muay Thai.
The octagon, it's not a hard corner. It's you can slip off easily. But do you know why they banned 12-6?
No.
Because Joe Biden John McCain. He saw this is mid-90s. He saw a video of a guy breaking concrete box by going 12-6.
Yes. And John McCarthy, I remember seeing an episode of John McCarthy on a podcast, and he was in the room when they were making the rule, and he's like, this is the dumbest fucking rule in the world. Because I didn't realise John McCarthy was such a big part of the MMA rule set.
Yeah.
He was there every step of the way working with them.
But you got to think, if you're going 12-6, the only way you could do that is if you're against a cage, is going down the back of someone's head.
Do you allow them in pro now?
No, I don't think they've adopted the rules yet. I think it's...
You don't see people utilising them because they're so used to not being able to. Like, there's so many good moments in MMA now where I'm like, use the 12-6. But because it's been ingrained in them for so long not to utilise it, I feel like people don't think about it very often.
Well, it's like soccer kicks in Pride. It was always like,
I personally am. I'm not a fan of the soccer kicks, but kneeing a downed opponent, I'm all for.
Or it depends. Like, with GSP, when I think... Was it him kneeing Matt Hughes? Like, he had him on all fours and just kneeing their body. Like, that was beautiful. But
yeah,
I mean, probably one or two of them should have been stopped a bit earlier, because once you're doing that, you can't do anything. I thought the fact it was on his left side, I thought he got a liver, so he couldn't move anyway.
Yeah.
But I still think, like, if they're saying it's still not safe, when could you use 12-6? You're either on your back trying to go down on... I guess they're looking up at you, but apart from that, you're against a cage. You can't do 12-6 with your back of the head.
Yeah.
If you're side control,
not
you could
really.
probably do it, but you wouldn't get much. you got to think, if you're in side control and you're trying to do a 12 to 6 with someone's head here, it's not going to generate as much force as on top of
and
someone.
cutting him. I reckon the 12 to 6 is perfect for like splitting a guard. Like if someone's guarding up on the floor and you got them fucking in full mount or maybe like a 3/4 mount, if they're like that and you just want to split their guard.
But all they have to do is put their head down and it's a legal strike.
Yeah, that's the thing. There was some fucking wild moments on the last UFC card. Did you watch it?
I saw the
Macy Barber?
the knockout punch and transition straight into the choke.
No one was saying how quick and effortlessly. Granted, it was on a knocked out opponent, but she slid that
that was
so perfectly.
But it looked like Demetrius Johnson with that German suplex armbar, where it's like
against.
But it looks like that was like it was drilled.
It was insane.
Like it wasn't. It didn't look a thing that was spur of the moment. It looks like that's something they've worked on. Like Demetrius Johnson's when he hiked up. They got back control and he hyped up and turned into a flying armbar.
It was his last UFC or second to last UFC performance, I think.
And that's the kind of thing. It's like that's not a fluke. Like you've done that before. Like
it was so well done.
Like when Conor knocked out
Eddie Alvarez.
You saw him warming up. He did the same thing, like slip, rip, and same with when Brock Lesnar fought Shane Carwin. Literally the week before, they're showing him drilling a hand-arm triangle.
Yeah, it was a good card. Shame about Izzy. I hope Izzy doesn't. I reckon he's got a couple good left in him. I just hope the UFC matches him up correctly.
Because he wouldn't be mid-30s yet, you think?
It's not his age. I think he would be mid-30s. It's his fight age. Because people don't realise...
He had like 50 kickboxing
he had like 80 professional fucking world-class kickboxing fights before the UFC.
Did he fight in Adelaide where he didn't have a corner man? So in between rounds, he just basically stood in the middle of the ring?
No, I think he had a corner man. He fought... was it Charles August? And he fought Steve Behan on Knees of Fury. And he was standing like in the middle of the ring, just not even talking to his corner because he's that good. But he's had such a long career, and fighting really, really ages you a lot. Like it's a hard, and they were doing it hard. Like back in the day, there was no sports scientists helping people cut weight.
There was no air conditioning.
Yeah, there was. They were literally fucking starving themselves and then cutting 10 kilos in a sauna. And
I won't say who, but I had a friend. He lost 12 kilos the night before a fight, and he's not heavyweight, light heavyweight, or middleweight.
That's fucking chaos. It's even like watching Alex Pereira. How the fuck did he?
From 240 to 185. And then the next day he weighs in at 220.
Like how he's an anomaly though. He's a freak.
Yeah,
but I will let it go. We will finish this up. But thank you again for your service to Australia and the Australian people. Our children, thank you. I have a child now, so your job is extra important to me. I wish you all the success, and we will do this again.
Sounds good. Take that, Miles.
Hopefully, take that, Miles. Hopefully, you get this superannuation law in by the time we do the next pod.
It's been 6 years for one, so I mean, there's still lots of law change to make, but it's all about making sure that there's no loopholes open that offenders can exploit.
You have a lot of fight left in you, so I don't think any predators will be safe in Australia while you're breathing.
Thank you.
No worries.